Hello and welcome to another video, and today I'm going to be making my 2020 Senate election prediction, my Senate elections. So I'm just going to start off by filling out all the states that I think will be safe, going by over 15%. I think that these are all the safe Republican states for this election, and now I'm going to fill out the safe Democratic states. I don't really need to give an explanation for these. These are just consistently red and blue states. So, I think this is how the map looks by just filling out the safe states. And now, oh, sorry, I forgot about Tennessee. So now I'm going to be filling out the likely states for the Democrats. So I'm going to start off with New Mexico. New Mexico is a pretty likely state. You have Ben Lujan, I think. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I know that he's probably going to win. The other candidates are not as strong, but I think that Elisa Martinez could do well if she were to be the Republican candidate. She's a member of the Navajo Nation, so she could get out the Native American vote, which is very large in New Mexico. I think it's the largest in the country, actually. But I think that he'll still be able to get the Latino turnout. It's still like a safe blue state, so I just don't see it going to the Republicans. Then we have Colorado, where there's an incumbent, Cory Gardner. If you look at his approval rating, he's disapproved -3. He's pretty liked by Republicans, but he's also disliked by Democrats. So there are more Democrats in Colorado, so that's already a minus. And then you have John Hickenlooper, who is the governor of Colorado. Who's the governor? Is he the incumbent? No, he is not. So he was the former governor of Colorado, and he was very popular. So I think that he'll get many of those independents who don't like Cory Gardner. He's disapproved -11, so 11% more disapproved by independents. So I think that Colorado will be a likely Republican state. Then we have Arizona, and I think that Arizona is a pretty interesting state. The governor, Doug Ducey, the governor of Arizona, after Senator John McCain passed away, he replaced, the replacement senator was Martha McSally, and she ran in the 2018 Senate elections in the midterms. So she actually lost to Kristen, but then she got appointed as the second senator. And now Mark Kelly is running for Senate in here, and he's leading in polling in every single poll. The one that's most favorable to Martha McSally shows her losing by 5%. So he already has a large advantage. And Martha McSally, she's not the most popular senator. She's disapproved -3. Republicans like her, but the thing is that you also need the independents and the Democrats, because together they make more of the states. And you see Democrats disapprove, they disapprove -46 and independents -9. So she's one of the more unpopular senators, and Mark Kelly, he's going to do well with many of the people in many of the independents. I think that he'll be able to replicate Kristen Sinema's win in 2018 against Martha McSally with really large margins in Maricopa County, and maybe he'll narrow margins in the more rural parts of the state. So I think that Arizona will be a lean blue. think that Texas, I don't think that Texas needs that much of an explanation. MJ Hager, I think, or MJ Hagar, she doesn't have the same appeal as Beto or Work. I think she'll make it close, like maybe 6%. But John Cornyn, the incumbent Texas senator, he's not as hated in the state, and he's not very partisan. So most Republicans, I think almost all Republicans like him in the state, so he'll win there. Minnesota is going to be likely. I don't think that anybody could really challenge Tina Smith. I think that she's in a good position. So just because it's Minnesota and it's usually it was in swing state in 2016, I don't see it being over 15%. I think the margin will be around 13%. I don't think Republicans try and win here. I think they have other places to try and invest their time. Virginia, Mark Warner, he's on track to win here by even a safe margin. He's very popular, and the Republicans don't really have any good candidates running, so I think it's going to be likely. I think the same thing will apply to New Hampshire. They don't really have any good Republicans running. Most of them don't have any name recognition. And Jean Shaheen, she's pretty popular. If you look at, she's plus 15, and she does really well with Democrats and Independents. So she's on track to win here. I don't see her losing. There has to be a very good Republican candidate to make this state contested, but just because it is New Hampshire and it is a swing state, I don't see it being a safe state for the Democrats, but I think it will be likely. Then we have Maine, which I think is going to be lean for the Democrats. I think this is because if you look at, let me get to Maine here. You have Suzanne Collins, who's a pretty unpopular senator, going up against most likely Sarah Gideon, who is the Speaker of the Maine House of Representatives, so she does have some name recognition, and she is she did lead in the Real Clear Politics aggregate. 2 polls, I think, show her in the lead. I think that a lot of people don't like her for many of her partisan votes, like voting for Trump not to be impeached, and voting in favor of nominating Brett Kavanaugh. People thought that she was this kind of nonpartisan senator, but people now think of her as more of a partisan senator who cares more about the Republican Party than the states. So Sarah Gideon is using this anger to boost her popularity, and she has been doing pretty well until now. She could really appeal to rural voters. I think that she'll already do well around the Portland suburbs, So I think that the first congressional district, every single county will go to her, and she'll be able to cut into a lot of Susan Collins' base in Upper Maine. This is her net approval minus 10, and it's not even that good for Republicans. It's only plus 23, which does show that she is not that popular. She is a pretty unpopular senator right now. I think that the hatred for her will be enough to take any Democrat over the victory line. So Maine, I think that's a leaning state for the Democrats. Then we have Mississippi. I think Mike Espy will be able to narrow the margin. But I don't think that it will be enough. I think Mississippi is such a safe Republican state that nothing could really change that. Alabama, I think that Tommy Tuberville, I think he's going to beat, I'm pretty sure that he's going to beat Jeff Sessions in the primary runoff. I think that Doug Jones is not popular in his state as much as he was before. He's actually losing to Jeff Sessions as well in polling from here. I want to check how much he's approved of. He is approved +6, which is okay, but you see that Republicans disapprove of him -25, which is bad because Republicans are the overwhelming majority in Alabama, and basically any strong Republican like Tommy Tuberville, I think, will be able to win here. He's not as popular as he was before. He beat Roy Moore, and Roy Moore, he was filled, he had a lot of scandals, which really helped Doug Jones. So now that he's a senator and people don't like him as much, especially Republicans, I could see the state going for the Republicans. I think that the Kentucky Senate race is very interesting. You have Mitch McConnell, and he's going up against somebody who has a pretty good shot at winning. I think that Amy McGrath, she was a nominee for Kentucky's 16th congressional district in 2018. She's pretty popular, and she's most likely going to win the nomination for the Democrats. Mitch McConnell is beating her in polling, but many of these polls show it being a really, really tight race. So I could really see this narrowing, especially because it's Mitch McConnell. Many people don't approve of Mitch McConnell. Look, he's -12 with all voters, and basically almost all Democrats disapprove of him. He's never been approved of, and he's doing horribly with independents. But since the state is so Republican, it's very hard to win here, even if you get the support of the Democrats and independents, because Republicans are the majority in the states. So I do think that it will stay with the Republicans, and the same thing with West Virginia. I think that Richard Ojeda will do really well in many parts of the state that would have been safe Republican. But he did lose his congressional race, so I do think that he has a bad record running in elections. He was like the first person to drop out of the 2020 Democratic presidential race. I don't see him winning here. The senator, Shelley Moore Capito, I think her name is, she's on track to win here, and the same thing with Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is also not that liked, but he is approved +12. But I think that just he was unpopular in 2018 Q1 and Q2 and Q3, but he is doing okay for himself. He's not liked by Democrats, but he's viewed as a great senator by Republicans, and independents are kind of they're shifting between approving of him and disapproving of him. I think that this Senate race is his to lose. Lindsey Graham is to lose. If we look here, he has no serious primary challengers, so I do think that he will win. And then, Jamie Harrison, I think his name is. He could get high African American turnouts. So I don't know who this is, but Brad Hudo. I want to see who this is because okay. So I think that he has an advantage because he's African American. He could get out the vote in many of the places where there are a lot of African Americans, and South Carolina has a strong voting block of African Americans, which will do him well. but I don't think it's enough to win there. Then we have Iowa. I don't see Joni Ernst losing the state. She's pretty popular. No, I don't think that Democratic candidates are that good. So I just see it going to her. She's the incumbent. She has the advantage there. I don't think that it's a very closely watched state. I think that both of Georgia's seats, both of their elections, will go by a leaning margin to the Republicans. I did think that there was a chance for the Democrats, but I think that once you reassess the I reassessed everything, how I came to the conclusion that I thought that Republicans would lose. I think that Raphael Warnock and Doug Collins will end up winning in the runoff, and then they will go up against each other. But I don't think that. I think that Raphael Warnock is not well known. He's not known. He's not known enough. Doug Collins is very popular in the state, and he's well known there. I think he is a representative. There is also a possibility that the incumbent senator actually becomes the gets second place, and Doug Collins gets first place, and then there are two Republicans going up against each other in the runoff, because there's most likely going to be a runoff because there are four major candidates splitting all of the votes. So that's still a possibility, but I think it's going to be a lean Republican state. Then let's see, we have Georgia's we have not the special election, the other Georgia race, which is between David Perdue, who is a pretty popular senator. We have David Perdue. He's plus 23 with all voters, which is really good for him. He's only disapproved by minus 17 by the Democrats, and he's really liked by Republicans and independents. So he already has an advantage of being a popular senator. I think that Jon Ossoff being the most likely candidate to win the nomination for the Democrats will help the Democrats, but I doubt it's going to be enough. He didn't win in Georgia's congressional race, which shows that he has a bad track record. The polling shows that he's leading in one, then David Perdue's leading in another by 6 points. So I think that the more recent one has very interesting results. I do think that he has a pretty good advantage, especially against somebody with so much name recognition like Jon Ossoff. So I think that the Republicans will win there. Then we have four more races. Kansas. I think that this race is a pretty interesting race because we have Kansas, which is a reliably red state, which is now supposed to be a toss-up. So we have Chris Kobach. He's the Secretary of State, and he actually lost in the governorship on the governor race in Kansas. He actually lost to a Democrat there. He's leading in the polling here, so he's probably going to win. There's Barbara Bollier. I don't know how to pronounce that. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. But it's just such a reliably Republican state that it's very hard to give it to a Democrat. He did lose to a Democrat last time, which does show that he's not. Republicans shouldn't be thinking that this is safe for him. They should be worrying about the seat because this could actually flip. She's leading in the last two polls, which are from April, which is pretty recent. So I just think that it's such a reliably Republican state that people will see the R next to his name and vote for him, but it will be close. Then we have Michigan, which I'm having of trouble deciding whether it should be a lean Democrat or a tilt Democrat. I think it's going to be a lean Democrat as of now. We have John James running again. He ran in 2018. I'm going to get the results for that. Michigan Senate election. Oh, sorry, that's the state Senate. But look at I'm going to try and get. Okay, so here we have Michigan's Senate election, and we have Gary Peters, and he's the incumbent senator, and he's going up against most likely John James, who ran in 2018. This is leaning Democrat as of now. John James has narrowed the margin in some polls, but you do see that in the recent polling data from Public Policy Polling and Fox News. Gary Peters has a solid lead against John James, but there is a high number of undecided voters. I'm going to check out his. Yeah, he is approved +7. It's not like, I think that most people don't really, I don't think that he's a very well-known senator. He's just there because Michigan is a pretty Democratic state. I think there are more Democrats in the state, and it has consistently been going to Democrats in Senate elections and governor races. I'm going to check the results from 2018 because I think that's important. Okay, so here we have the election results. It was around like 6.5%, which is likely. Debbie Stabenow did pretty well here. I think she's more known than Gary Peters. He did do well in many of the rural areas. The urban areas went to Debbie Stabenow, but she did pretty well. I think that it shows that John James is capable of losing, and why he's not as strong of a candidate as people might think of him as. He was actually losing in polling to the other Republican candidates. Not that it really matters. She was leading in every single poll in April 2018. Let me see what. Okay, so she was leading by double digits months out before the election, and at the end it was very tight. And we're already seeing John James winning in some polls or losing by a single digit. So you could see this state getting very close. He might be able to win there. I do think that Montana and North Carolina are going to be very close races. I think that Cunningham is going to win here. Let me get that race open. So we have North Carolina. We have Tom Tillis. He's the incumbent. He's currently disapproved -2. Disapproved by independents, by Democrats, approved by Republicans. It is not as Republican as it used to be. I think that there's a pretty good chance that Tillis loses. I think that the odds are stacked against him. Cunningham was a candidate for the Senate in 2010. He was a former state senator. He's pretty well known in the state, and he is probably going to win he has already won the primary there by huge margins. The polling goes back and forth, but the most recent polling data shows him in the lead. There was one that showed him in the lead by 10%, one by 2%, one by 7%. So he's in the lead here. The polling data is on his side. And Tom Tillis isn't the most popular senator. Cunningham has good name recognition, so I could see North Carolina going to the Democrats. And I do think that I think that one of the hardest decisions they have to make is that Montana will probably go to Steve Bullock. It's going to be a tilt margin, so this is not guaranteed. Steve Daines could possibly take the state. Tom Tillis could take North Carolina. This is just what I think of as of today. If we look at Steve Daines, he is pretty liked in the state. He's approved plus 16. He is disapproved by Democrats, but he's approved by Independents and Republicans. But then look at the governor ratings. We have Steve Bullock. He's approved by 21, so he's leading plus 5, and he doesn't do that badly with Republicans. He's doing worse with Independents, but he's doing obviously way better than with Democrats. So you could see that he has a slight advantage, but then Steve Daines has the incumbency advantage. But they voted, the voters in Montana voted for him to, Steve Bullock, to become the governor. We have, let me open up the, I think it's the Montana governor race from 2016. You have Steve Bullock beating Greg Gianforte by around 4%, which is pretty good. I think that he could replicate this, but just because Steve Daines is a stronger candidate than Gianforte, you could see this race getting very close. I don't think that it's that the case is closed that Bullock will win here. He does have really high name recognition and is very popular in the state, but the same thing could be applied to Steve Daines. So I think it kind of cancels out, but I do think that he has the slight advantage as of today. So this is my final map. This will probably change. It should change. I don't think that it will stay this way, as there's more polling data coming out. We have more primary results. I think that this is I think as of now this is the final map. So 51 for the Democrats, 49 for the Republicans. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day.